Now that you've graphed by hand, I'm also going to show you how to use a graphing calculator, which is a little more efficient. So all the steps I'm going through are on your notes. It says solving using the graphing calculator. It has a picture of the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through this problem over here on the right with you where it says solve the system using a graphing calculator. So not very pretty. This would not be a fun equation to graph by hand at all. But we can use our calculator. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to y equals. We want to make sure that all our y's are cleared out. So notice mine are cleared out. If there was something in there, then you would want to go up to that value. So you'd go up to whatever's in there and hit clear. Okay, make sure it's not in there. Also make sure your plots are turned off. So what I mean by plots is if you look at the top, the plot 1, plot 2, plot 3, if those are darkened, meaning if it looks like that, it means it's turned on, which is going to be causing us a little bit of trouble. So we want to turn those off by hitting enter, and it goes off. Okay, so you want to make sure they're not darkened. So now we're going to type in this equation, y equals 1/4 x squared minus 6x plus 1. So remember, to get a fraction, you hit the alpha y equals button and option 1, so you hit enter. And we're going to type in 1 and then over 4. And then our x is next to the alpha button, and our squared is above the log button, minus 6x plus 1. So if you got lost, pause the video, find those buttons, and then turn the video back on. Alright, then y2 is going to be our second equation. So again, alpha y equals, choose a fraction, we're going to do 3 over 4, and this is just x minus 23 over 2. So the second equation is linear. First equation is a quadratic. So once we have those in there, we want to make sure there's no problems. If you type in a negative instead of a minus, it will not graph correctly. So make sure that 6x is a minus and then 23 halves is a minus. If it says a half, a negative, it's not going to work. Okay, so be very careful of that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit the graph button. And hopefully our graph is small enough. So there is our first piece. Okay, so notice this graph is not, it doesn't look anything like I expected. It doesn't have a quadratic, it doesn't have a line, it looks like a check mark, a backwards check mark at that. So what that means is our window is too small. So what we need to do is we need to open up our window. So to do this, you go to window. So y equals and then window is the next button. And we're going to change our x's and our y's. So maybe I'm going to try looking at a 20 by 20. So negative 20. If you make a mistake, simply go back and delete it. And I'm going to look at positive 20. The x scale is just how many you want it to go by. 1s, 2s, 5s, whatever you want. I'm just going to leave it at 1 for now. I'm going to do negative 20 for my x min and positive 20 for my y max. We're going to see if this is going to help us at all. Again, I'm not changing my y scale. And then this x-res, don't mess with that at all. That's just going to jack up the graph. So now when I hear graph, let's see if I can see a better, okay, a little more. So I can definitely see that this right here is an intersection point right there. But it looks like this is the line, and it looks like my quadratic is coming down, which I should expect that it's going to open up. So what that means is I need to go more to the right. So going back to my window, I don't need any more x's, but maybe I'm going to try going to 40 on my x's. And because that's so big, I think I'm going to scale it to 5s. That way I'm not looking at so many little tick marks. And then same thing, my y's. Remember that parabola had a really low vertex, so I might go to 40 there as well, see if I can see it. And then my y scale, I'll do that as 5s as well. So now I'm going to graph. Okay, so I guess I went the wrong way. So let's go back to window. Oh, I put 4. That would be why. X max of 4 is not going to help us. We need 40. Let's try this again. Alright, so hopefully we can almost see our vertex, but not quite. So if I really want to see my vertex, which I kind of do, I'm going to go back to window. I'm just going to take this down to 60. We'll see what happens. This is obviously a very low vertex. Okay, again, I must have typed it in wrong. Let's try that again. Let's see what Miss Miller's done here. Oh, so I changed my y max, I didn't change my y min. So I really didn't need 60 there. 40 could have stayed there. Let's change my y minimum. Let's try that at negative 40 and see what happens. So sometimes you have to play with the window. So this can make the graphing calculator a little frustrating if you don't get the window perfect the first time. Alright, this is a very nice picture. I can clearly see my quadratic. I can see my line. And this again is why you need to know the behavior. Does it open up? Does it open down? Is it going to be really low or high? Knowing those things to start off with can help you adjust your window appropriately. So now what we're going to do is we're going to identify these intersections. I don't know what that point is. I can't even tell from this graph. But the calculator can actually do a calculation. So to do this, we're going to go to Calculate, which is above the Trace button. So second, Calc, and then we're going to choose option 5. So you can either arrow down and hit Enter, or you can actually just push the number 5 and it will go to it. So then what we're going to do is we're going to get close to that intersection point. So notice the little blinking cursors right there. I'm going to get it closer, so like about right there. And then I'm going to hit Enter. And then it's going to jump to the second curve, which is really close to that point. And I'm going to hit Enter again and hit Enter one more time. So basically you get it close and hit Enter 3 times. So notice that intersects at 2, negative 10. That's a pretty nice point. Okay, so we would write 2, negative 10 over here on our answer. Okay, and I'm going to try to do this. I had to switch computers. So if you'll write that down there, and then I'll get that in there in a minute. And then our second point is over here. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to hit second, Calc, option 5. And this time we're going to have to go to the right. So I'm going to press the over button until I get a little close. It doesn't have to be perfect, but close. And then hit Enter 3 times. And that one's at 25 and 29 over 4. Wow, they were nice. They actually gave us fractions. Yours might say 29, well, what would that be? About 7 and 0.25. Yeah, 7.25, 28. Yeah. So yours might say 7.25, and that's okay as well. So fractions or decimals, either one's good. Again, this is your point of intersection. So you had 2 points. I think it was 2, negative 10, and then 25, comma 29 fourths. So in this box over here, where it says solve the system using a graphing calculator, write down those answers, and then if you have any notes or comments to add to ask me tomorrow, write those down as well.